Yo,
What's going on, man?
what's up?
Not much, just hanging out.
Nice.
Had a meeting. How are you doing?
Let me make sure my mic is on. Does it sound good?
Sounds really good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, not much, man. I'm fucking tired, man. I woke up at like 4 o'clock. My client was competing today.
Food show?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, my assistant coach has a kid in that show.
Oh, really? In what class?
Men's physique.
Okay, he's in classic and bodybuilding.
Nice. Is this a natural show?
It is.
Okay, yeah, thought so.
He actually just sent me pictures right now.
Fire it up. Let's show the people.
There he
Wow.
is.
Nice. That's
Obviously,
good.
obviously it's hard to see, but
You can see though.
yeah,
He looks good. Legs look pretty separated.
yeah,
Nice, man. This guy's natural.
natural. Yeah, I think that's all.
Wow. He looks
Good
great.
back.
Really nice legs, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah, good quad sweeps.
yeah. He's a good kid. 20 years old. I shouted him out last time, but give him another shout out because he got dead center at a show. So
Did prejudging already happen?
Yep.
And he was dead center?
Yep.
Beautiful, man. That's awesome.
I think he can have a burger and fries now.
Yeah, he probably sealed the deal.
Yeah. So what's been going on with you?
Not a lot, man. Just I've worked all morning. Online seems to be picking back up a little bit now that we're halfway through summer, I guess.
Yeah.
So just been took on a few new clients this week, been working on getting people set up. I got a bunch of competitors like 12, 16 weeks out in that range. So it's going to be a busy fall for my competitors and me.
Yeah. How many people do you have in the nationals coming up?
I think I'll just have one, I'm pretty sure, which is my assistant coach.
Okay.
So, but we need to do a regional qualifier. So we're going to go do the one in Burlington a week before. And then,
Nice.
yeah, try to win this class at the very least, obviously going for the overall.
Classic.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's his name again?
Ryan Shea Fitness on Instagram, I believe. But yeah, he's good. He's got a really, really big structure. He's like 6'3", 6'4", but he's beefed up a lot this last year. He was natural up until I want to say like September, October last year.
Okay. Nice.
So we've done a couple off season phases, and now he's just kind of started prep. But this guy, he's got a crazy metabolism. He gets in shape super fast. Like he's still eating like over 3,000 calories a day, and he's like starting to get dialed in. And he's like 9-10 weeks out. So
nice. Yeah. 10 weeks out today, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm stoked. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, man. It's always exciting when you have like a good client doing a show. It like just gets you hyped up, right? He's calling me now, but I don't know. I'm just on a podcast. I'll call you back.
Jonas, you're hopping on now.
Yeah, he's going back on for finals at 3, so he's got a couple hours. It's funny because a lot of the shows are they're not doing finals, right? Like the Canadian shows, they've been different than they've ever been before COVID anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it's way easier on the athletes, honestly, just to do it all in one go. That's what I loved about nationals and like the pro qualifiers.
Yeah.
Like it really makes sense. I think it makes more sense at the pro qualifiers than anything, because those events are for people who are trying to win pro cards. Like no one else cares about any of the other bullshit. You know what I mean? You could even probably take out the posing routines. I don't think people would care that much. You know what I mean? But at the regional shows, I think it's more of like a production. Like everyone's family's going to see him compete. Like you want to have. I think it's good to get the prejudging done in the morning.
Yeah.
Call them back for the evening. Like do the whole show, because like you're trying to make money as a promoter as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it makes a lot more sense to do it that way. But I think when you have these pro qualifiers with super high numbers, like you just gotta do the fucking mandatories and get people out of there. You know?
Yeah. So you think it should be like, oh shit, sorry, I left him waiting in the waiting room. This thing's really annoying. And I do hope that our Zoom works properly today, because I did have some issues with it. But anyways,
I think we should be good.
yeah, it should be good this time.
Anyways, what were you asking me?
No, I don't remember.
About the show.
Yeah.
That's all good.
So hopefully he's got the win. I'm really excited with Tyler. He's gonna win the bodybuilding junior for sure. He's gonna win the classic junior for sure. Then we'll see what happens in the overall.
Awesome.
Yes,
hey,
sir.
Jonas.
God damn, I think you just got out mustached, man.
I knew this was coming. I've been mentally preparing myself for this.
Dude. Jonas, how are you, brother?
Good. How are you guys?
Amazing, man. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, we appreciate you taking the time, man. Any chance you can turn your phone sideways?
Yeah, no problem at all. Let me just get some headphones too. I want to get connected to this.
Yeah,
better.
Take your time.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh,
cool. Yeah, and then, man, like, I'm really excited too for the nationals because my girl's competing in bikini, and I have a couple guys. I don't have anybody in classic though, so your guys safe for now. But
yeah, well, that's good. I'd rather we not have competitors competing against each other anyway.
Yeah,
I want to keep that trip for me.
Yeah. All right, guys. So welcome back to the podcast. Today we got Jonas Giatras joining us today, and Jonas, thanks so much for coming on today, brother. How are you?
Good, man. It's great to be here. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah.
It was a crazy couple of months, but it was. I'm doing well, doing really good.
Cool. I was gonna say I thought Morgan had a good mustache, but you got him beat.
How long is that thing?
I'm taking it back to the 90s,
man.
That's it.
It's honestly, I make a pretty mean mustache in about a month. So I only started growing this, I want to say, right before I started competing. So I guess June.
Cool. Yeah, so are you Italian? Is that where your name comes from, or
Greek? I got Greek on both sides of my family.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, you guys get that like thick, like hair, like
hairy motherfuckers.
Yeah, hairy motherfuckers.
Yeah.
That's great. So you're
bastards.
You're in Utah, correct?
Yeah. Yep. I'm in Syracuse. Syracuse is about 30 minutes outside of Salt Lake City. Everyone knows where Salt Lake City is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They had the Olympics there that one year. That's why I know.
Yep. Yeah. Salt Lake's our capital. It's kind of like upwards, into the central northern part of Utah. So it's really pretty, man. Like Utah gets a bad rap, which I get, with the Mormon concept and everything, but we have a lot of, national parks and things like that. So it's kind of cool. Once you end up getting to this state and you see what we have to offer, people always leave like, wow, that was way different than I expected. But
so I know in Utah, there's like a lot of like supplement, like production and stuff like that. So like, do you notice that in like the fitness scene? Like what's your like bodybuilding and fitness scene like there?
Honestly, man, it definitely is noticeable. I remember, when bodybuilding.com started their stuff, I believe their headquarters is in Idaho, which is really close. And then a whole bunch of manufacturers started springing up from there. But yeah, the fitness scene here, you guys, believe it or not, is really big. The gyms are always packed. It's a very healthy state. We still have the same issue as I'm sure everywhere else in America with the obesity pandemic stuff, but people generally want to take the newest supplements. They want to be in the gym. They want to learn about fitness and food, and so I'm happy with it when it comes to that kind of stuff. So
yeah, it's good. Helps be in a good environment. So what do you do like for work and stuff? Are you involved in like the fitness scene, or do you do something separate? Or
yeah, I run my own business. I started TG Fitness several years ago. It was a different name. I ended up splitting up with my wife at the time, kind of left her the business, she wanted it. I said, okay, started my own thing, ended up, with TG, nutrition, fitness, and lifestyle. So I do that.
So is that like a coaching business or?
Yeah. Yep.
Cool,
Sports, nutrition, diet, exercise, lifestyle, of course. Like to help a lot of people that just are, not sure how to do, the day-to-day eating. It amazes me all the time that people really struggle with what to eat. They don't understand what and how much. And then I'm an engineer. So I'm an industrial firefighter and an occupational health and safety engineer. So I do all that in a day. I really pretty much work 6 days a week. I try to take Saturdays off with my family. Doesn't always work well when you run a business, but Sundays are a whole nother day of just doing my business stuff. Like tomorrow, I got another IFBB pro I work with, so I'm going to go train him down at a friend of mine's gym. We don't have too many bodybuilding gyms, but this one, we have FTC Fitness Training Center in Utah, and then this one's called Butler's Pro Gym that I'm going to tomorrow. Kind of caters to the fitness community, the fitness world, really cool equipment. I'm going to go train him, and then we're going to go through some posing. He's going to be in the Texas Pro. So we're going to.
So is he like an open bodybuilder, or what division is he?
Yeah, he's an open bodybuilder.
What was his name?
His name's Seth Engman.
Oh yeah, I've heard of him.
Wow.
He's competed recently, right?
Yes.
Right
yes.
on. Yeah. That's cool. So you're an IFBB pro yourself, and you work with IFBB pros as well.
Yes.
And you guys competed together recently too, no?
Yes. Yep. It was
awesome.
A recent change. Totally caught me off guard, unexpected. But he definitely was just looking for a different route. He's kind of brought the same look over and over, and he was hoping to bring something different. You guys know how it is with open bodybuilding. You got to come in, not just in condition. That's NPC stuff. You got to come in full. You got to come in super conditioned, and you got to come in hard. Any of those three are kind of out. I mean, plan on possibly being bumped out of the top 5. You know what I mean?
That's right. So how do you manage doing a competition where you're coaching a client that you're competing against?
That's that. It's kind of weird. Ian was doing the same thing while we were at the Vancouver Pro. That guy who won the pro card.
Yep, we had him on last week, actually, Chris.
Yeah, I believe you could tell just from them being in the back. That was his client, and stuff he was talking to him about, how to pose and what to do when he was up there, and food questions. You could just tell that they were working together. It's really not that big a deal as far as, as long as you're an attentive coach and you care about people's success as much as your own. I think it's a really easy thing when you're doing the same thing side by side with your clients.
Yeah, cool. So are you guys hanging out backstage, like you're helping them along the way as well, even while you're doing your own stuff? Cool, man.
Yeah, like I said, this is a recent change, but yeah, definitely that was part of the fun. I think that ended up causing some of the switch for him was just part of the the experience, the questions, what I brought, the overall look and package, and certain things like that. But he's definitely a sharp bodybuilder. He's added a lot of size to his frame over the years. He's a little bit seasoned too, which is always helpful for muscle structure. They just get a different look. Us men, we get a different look to our fibers with some age. So, but his last coach is a really knowledgeable guy. He's done a great work with him. He's got him into a good foundation. So that's always helpful. You know what I mean? Where you're versus starting from ground zero. It sounds like both you guys help people. So I know you know what it's like when you start from ground zero. It is not the same experience,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's nice kind of taking on some competitors that have experience, and some people just need like the smallest tweaks, especially when it comes to things like condition. Like it could be one thing that they're just doing wrong that you need to fix, and like there you go, they look like they have a brand new physique, right? Totally. So yourself, like how long have you been like bodybuilding for to get to where you are? I know you turned pro back in 2019, but how long were you competing for to get to that point?
So I've been bodybuilding, man, since college football ended for me. I had a pretty bad knee blow, my ACL and MCL, and had some meniscus tears. And at that point, I just kind of, went back home and was kind of lost with what to do. Knee was healing up. Was in the gym though, always in the gym. I want to say that was around 19, 20 years old. I'm 37 now. So I continued to train, but as you guys know, I'm sure my first initial training was not, hypertrophy or hypertrophy, however you want to say it. It was definitely, you know, strength training, moving weight, like you're going to get some muscle size with that, obviously, but most of the time when it's coming to strength training, mobility training, things like that, you're not going to get what you're looking for with hypertrophy. Um, so once I figured that out and switched, I had a couple guys in the gym that were, you know, like, hey, come train with us. I'm like, okay, cool. I ended up going into a natural show with a committee called the NGA, the National Gym Association, and won that. And then the second show I did with them was 2007. First one was 2006. Then I got my pro card in that. So 2 shows, bam, bam, I'm a pro. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now what? Like, very small, you know, very minute, you know, importance as far as what I was looking for to you know, be a competitive guy and really get into this scene.
Mm.
Took a bit of a hiatus and then came back into the NPC. I shouldn't say came back, but came to the NPC, found the NPC, and that was in 2010. Did my first show in 2010, and I believe I got second place as a heavyweight, and then it just kind of
How tall are
branched from
you?
there.
How tall are you?
I'm 6 foot.
Okay, you're 6 foot. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
So like your first show, do you remember how much you weighed?
Oh yeah, I was like right at the bottom tier. Almost, if I would have dieted better, I could have been a light heavy for
Oh
sure. I
yeah.
was not very, you know, big yet. Hadn't figured out, you know, getting some real size into my legs or anything yet, or much detail. So, but it was super fun. Had some good detail in the chest. Always had a big barrel chest, and some, you know, shoulders and arms were really pretty good. That's what got me into second place. But yeah, then we branched into another show and then ended up winning that one. And then from there on, I just ended up winning overalls and yeah, I went to junior nationals my first time. Really cool show. That was super fun. You guys know who Big Russ Allen is?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it sounds
Sounds
familiar.
If you have an IG there, he's, you know, his name's under Team Allen. Um, yeah, he was a really competitive bodybuilder from Colorado. Worked out at the Mile High Mecca when Phil Heath was making his big push still.
Oh, that's
So
armbrust gym, right? Is that what it's called?
yep, armbrust.
Yeah,
Yep, you
cool.
got it. Brett Wilkins is there right now, and a couple others. I think that Jonas and Withers.
I know Dorian
Um,
Haywood's out there too.
yeah, Dorian is out there as well. Yes.
Yeah.
I know Dorian very well, actually. You know.
Oh, really? I like
Yeah,
Dorian. He's cool.
yeah, he's a good guy. We've competed several times through the process. He was out at junior nationals too, I believe, that year. He ended up working with the coach I was working with. Came over and hit me up, really liked my look, and then ended up lining him up with David Kalick.
Yeah.
But Big Russ Allen was out there, and Sergio Olivia Jr. was at that show. There were 2 or 3 other pretty big names that we all ended up competing in the super heavies, and I took fourth. That was back when bodybuilding was still slightly thriving. We'll say not as good as it was back in the early 2000s and 90s, but it was still very much alive.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure. You guys know when Classic Physique started? I don't believe Classic had started yet. It was bodybuilding and physique.
I think
Yeah.
class was like 2016.
2016 or
Yeah.
17, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right, because that was 2014. So, anyways, I took fourth there, first national show, and then went to nationals. So now I got my taste of losing again later that year in November, and I got last place. You guys, no joke.
Oh God.
So it was.
We've all been there, man.
Yeah, we've all been there. First pro qualifier, you just need to get your ass handed to you, because then it makes you realize like that you're not at the level you think you are.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah,
For sure. But yeah, going from juniors fourth to that was humbling and definitely set my mind right.
And how much did you weigh in that show? Like, how much progress did you make in terms of stage weight?
A lot, man. Like 2014 was a breakout year for me.
Yeah.
I want to say, looking back, I was in the mid 250s even then.
Yeah.
So I put on a ton of muscle from which I met Dave through Sean Roden. Sean Roden's was one of my, you know, close friends. God rest his soul. Miss that dude every day. made our introduction, and then we started working together. I was working with Sean with that. I always would forget the damn company's name. It's Jack 3D, and they were doing VPX.
USD?
That's what it was.
Oh, VPX, right? VPX.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that like NO shotgun? They had that shotgun and a couple other.
I remember taking
that
the
in high school,
pre-workout.
man. I used to take that in high school.
Me too.
Yeah.
The pre-workout would make you really tingly.
Yeah.
Crazy shit that was, man.
So anyways, I met him there while we were working, and he lined me up with Dave, and no joke, in that about year and a half, I went up, more than I probably should have in a year, but it was pretty close to about 50 pounds. So that made a pretty big change on my frame.
Wow.
I always give thanks to a coach that deserves it. I was big thanks to Dave and teaching me some stuff along the way. And I was traveling a lot back and forth to Gold's Venice. That's where he was at. So I really got a taste of the feel of the Mecca. Dexter Jackson was in there. Got to talk to him a lot every day. And Charles Glass was in there, super motivating. Michael Hearn would chat with you often. So being in there really got me pushed, and then getting my butt kicked at last place. That was humbling. And then I took a step back, and I went through that divorce I mentioned earlier, guys. That was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Have a couple little girls. I have a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old. Back then they were quite a bit younger. And I just lifted for the love, lifted for weights, for the therapy, for the passion that I just had for it. Didn't compete again until 2018. Came back in 2018 with a vengeance, even bigger, harder, and won. The first show I was into, obviously by far, crushed it. Jose Raymond was there, and that guy's turned into a great friend, great friend. Grabbed me backstage and was like, "Damn, dude, you have a structure. This is going to be a really good year for you." In my head, I'm still trying to feel it out. Like, man, last time I did nationals, I got last place. So for him to say that, I was like, okay, great, man. Thank you. Gives me a good idea what to do. Then I spoke with, Jose a little bit about training, some other techniques, helped me out a bunch. Then I went down to North Americans. I got 7th. From North Americans, I went to USA's. I got 7th again. Dusty Hanshaw saw me down there, and Mr. Roden made a phone call to me, and both of those guys are like, "Dude, your X frame, your structure, everything's there. You're just missing, as you said a little bit ago, about your diet and a couple small conditioning points." So at that point, those two talked me into a change, making a change to see what we could have happen. Started working with Chris Aceto. And the next show I did was Nationals 2019, after the 2019 USA's, which was a great year of USA's, because that's the one that Nick Walker took second. Zach Merkel won. Right. Antonio Burton won his pro card to become really good friends with that guy. That guy's a freak. He's got a crazy structure.
He does look insane.
Yeah, he's super cool too. He's real close to me. He's down in Nevada. But anyways, and then we went into 2019 Nationals, and I won the supers, battled it out. I thought I had the overall. That would have been so cool to be on the list. Ended up finding out a split decision. Ended up going to Matt. Trying to think of his last name. Do you remember his last name, babe? Schmidt. Matt Schmidt ended up winning that.
Heavyweight.
Yeah, heavyweight. So, but it was close, really close, like just a couple points made me feel better. So
what do you think the difference was there in that class, or in that overall?
From talking to lucky enough that at the time he wasn't the NPC chairman for Utah, but he was one of the judges on the panel down there. Steve DeVore, he approached me later, and I just said, man, this has always kind of been on my mind, man. What caused me to lose that? I'm like, was it an overall thing? Did they, everyone decide it was him? He's like, oh no, man, it was a split decision, very close. But it was overall his back thickness. So that's something that I definitely am working hard on. It's still something that I am trying to bring up to match the rest of my body for this, this Olympia qualification that I'm hopefully foreseeing in the next year. But
Nice.
So
that was what
just
they
going
said.
back,
Did it.
sorry, just going back a little bit, because you mentioned you started working with Chris Aceto and then you guys figured out your conditioning. So what was it that you changed? Do you remember that really brought like dialed in your condition?
Yeah, it was the foods, 100%, man. There was literally, a matter of fact, talking hormonally, things like that. It was significantly less. The importance wasn't as much there as it was, the food quantities and the types of foods that I was eating. Once I got that in, man, it wasn't long. I'll never forget what Aceto said to me. So I got done doing that show, and you're a newer bodybuilder to the scene. Everyone knows who Chris Aceto is, right?
Of course.
Coaching Sean Roden to his Olympias, and then or his one Olympia in 2018, and then Jay Cutler to 4. He's got Kamal, a whole bunch of other bodybuilders he's put there. Troy Alvarez. But
I think
anyways,
Chris Aceto is the most iconic coach in the sport, just because of that picture with him, Jay Cutler, like just from Jay Cutler alone, and then all the other athletes he's coached, like you mentioned, Sean Roden. It's like, yeah, he's the coach. Besides Chad Nichols, I would say he's like the coach.
Yeah, I agree.
And Hani.
Sorry.
Disrespected
the most winningest coach. Yeah, no, but totally.
But yeah, we all
legend.
And all 3 of those guys, right? Like super respectful of the success they've had, right? All of them little different routes. There's not just one way to skin a cat. I mean, that's the biggest thing with this sport. But they definitely are certain ways that are better than others, we'll say, but there's not just one way. So Chris, with his iconic, measures, his overall just respect that you have for the guy when you're speaking with him, especially if bodybuilding, man. And I was the type of kid that I loved that. It was football. It was Emmett Smith. It was, James Harrison up on my wall. And then we had Sean Ray, we had Ronnie Coleman, we had Kevin Maroney, and that was my childhood, room. Dirt bike photos, a couple other things like that. Typical young man minus the bodybuilders. I think that was something that you either loved it or you didn't. But Chris Aceto, where I was going with that, he called me fat. I just had got done with the show, and I said, so what do you think the issue is? He's okay. We sat on a 20-30 minute FaceTime call, and then he said, send me pictures. So I sent him pictures, pretty happy, all nervous, thinking, okay, cool, I'm in decent shape. So he's going to be, maybe he'll like what he sees, Dusty Hanshaw told me, he likes where I'm at. He says, next show you do, you'll win. Watch. I'm like, okay, that's pretty bold. And then same with Sean. But anyways, Chris is like, you're fat, dude. And sure enough, man, we went down. I want to say I went down 18 more pounds to win my pro card from what I competed at 2019 USA's to 2019 nationals, which isn't that far. I mean, that's end of July. So I had August, September, October when we were competing in Miami, in November for the actual nationals. But yeah, he pushed me. Cardio was a little bit more emphasized. It's not that I didn't do cardio. I did plenty of cardio with my other coach, but it was just a different, quantity, and it changed based on what he was seeing. If I was, at a really good treaded in and out point, he would pull it out. If I was not, then he put it back in. And sometimes he would go up a little bit, depending what he, would refeed me on if we did a double carb day or triple carb day. So, but yeah, that was the biggest change right there was just the food and how attentive he is. I mean, even on my shows now, you guys, that guy, I bet he changed my diet 20 times in the last, 10 days of my show prep. So nothing huge, I don't want anyone thinking that's, this is, you work with these coaches and you get this game changing, always feeding me these amazing carbs that are all delicious. No, it's standard stuff that works well. It's, it's quantities, timing, and amounts. So
Yeah, I was interested in that because my coach is Ron Partlow. I'm not sure if you know who he is, but he was coached by Chris Aceto, so he's like a disciple of Chris and really believes in his techniques, like just keeping things very simple, like good whole foods, clean foods, like really promotes that, and just especially and I like how you mentioned that about the PED side of things too, that there wasn't such a big emphasis on that. It's like just kind of have them in there, and like those are pretty basic protocols too, I'm sure. And then I went through that same experience working with Ron as you did with Chris. Like you just learn that these simple changes are what really matters and what makes a huge difference and getting that final look, and especially having those like Chris finishing touches. And I mean, it seems like you and Chris have it down to a T now, man, because like all of your shows this contest season, like you brought a super impressive polished physique. Like I don't think anyone can say that you gave up much room on conditioning to anybody.
Yeah, totally, man.
I appreciate that. Chris, definitely, we have my body figured out. I do require a little bit more food, a little less cardio than most. But you guys, there was sometimes, we'll say after the show, you do that many in a row, which was my first time doing, 4 back to back to back. I mean, all literally in 5 weeks. Pretty easy to slip on condition. And tell me, how often do you guys see, a pro that comes in and you're like, man, that guy was crazy, and then 2 shows later, you're looking at a completely different bodybuilder. You know what I mean?
Yep, definitely, man.
I don't want to call out any names, but there's one big time one that even struggled getting in shape, that should easily be winning some shows, that is, questionable to even be in the Olympia this year because of situations just like that.
Why do you think that is?
Absolutely.
Why do you think the discrepancy between shows with bodybuilders?
They get too comfortable going too far off of their diet plan.
You think that's what it is?
I do. Taking rest, and there's no time for that. You cannot do that.
Yeah.
You can have some stuff after the show, and I recommend to everybody, if you're not feeding yourself, I almost see that sometimes as much of an issue, you guys, with people I help, as overfeeding. They think this strategic plan is to just go no carbs. Boom, we're going to go no carbs. Guess what? We're going to have this amazing look. Let me tell you something. No, you're not. You're not going to have the look you're hoping for. You may come in peeled, but I promise you're going to lose to 5 other guys who didn't go on a starvation diet. You know what I mean? They were very methodical with the carbs they ate, just like Ron would do with you. It's very simple, but it's the amount you eat, and then the amount of cardio that you do has to be relative to what your body's telling you.
Yeah.
So
exactly. It's all about timing stuff. Like timing's huge too, right? Like you need to know when to push it. Like you need to know when to go lower carbs. Like when you're trying to get the fat off, like 3, 4, 5 weeks out, that's when you do need to push it. That's when you do feel like shit. But I'm a big enthusiast now, especially after working with Ron. Like you really should be ready, like 3, 4 weeks out, so that you're able to eat into the show. Like that makes the biggest difference when it comes to that final look and conditioning, because you can be shredded, but if your muscle's not pushing up against the skin and you have that gap in between your skin and the muscle, like that really shows on stage, right? And you don't look as peeled as you actually are. And I think a lot of guys are just bringing in too many variables to be able to nail that, especially when it comes to doing crazy things with their diet when they get close to a show, and just overemphasizing drug use and adding in these orals and shit like 2 or 3 weeks out, thinking they're going to have some crazy result to make them look full and dry and all this stuff, when it's really just diet that is going to get them what they want, right? And just figuring their body out and the carbs out and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys
Yep.
change PEDs at all between shows, or do you keep everything the same and you only change diet and cardio?
We definitely changed some of those, but it's not near like what I hear some of these gentlemen doing. It's nothing like that. And the other big issue I see, I agree with almost everything that you're talking about. It's they change so many things too in a small window, that at that point, guess what? You're now, swinging for the fences. You're hoping to hit a home run, throwing a Hail Mary, whatever you want to call it, because now you no longer have the knowledge or control of knowing which things you just did that worked, because you did 6 things. So now you're like, okay, yeah, maybe he did come in great, but I promise you the next show you go to do with that person, you're going to struggle with his look, because you don't know which one was the thing that made the actual change happen. And then you try to remake that, and it's really difficult. I couldn't agree more. The best thing I heard you say was, coming in shape early.
Yeah.
It's something that was preached to me by Sean Roden, you guys, over and over. He's like, you want to be ready early, and then you can peel back a little bit on certain things and push more food in if needs be, versus if you're already too fat and you're trying to cut it down to the last week and hope you're going to make this drastic change. I've seen guys do it, and kudos to them. But I would say 90% of the time, it does not end up looking, the way they want it to look on stage.
Yeah.
So if you guys look at my Instagram, that picture in my white spandex, everyone was giving me so much shit about it being photoshopped and how far out was, talking crap about, what I looked like this far out. And that's, Chris's mentality as well. We're going to be ready early, and then we can adjust things the entire way as we need to with what we're going to feed you, how much we're going to feed you, and how much cardio.
Yeah.
So 8 weeks out, I literally could have stepped on stage that weekend and probably beat most of the people that.
These pictures or these pictures or.
If you just go a little bit further, there's some in white spandex pants. Down not much farther. There it is, right there.
This one here, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Holy shit!
And how many weeks out was that?
That was 8 weeks.
Holy fuck, dude!
Yeah, I didn't post it for a little bit. I know, and people were like, "Holy crap!"
So you were ready. This is, most people would look at this like this is peak week or 2 weeks out, and you're ready to go, just hiding in the shadows.
Yep, work out in a hoodie, man, and sweatpants every day. I mean, as you can see, my pants. I'm always the covered up guy. I got a beanie on.
Mo does that too.
Fuck you!
I love that.
Are you talking shit?
Hey, you do wear those, don't you?
Oh, the leggings under the pants.
The leggings, man. Yeah, that's what
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's the secret.
Oh, I thought you were making fun of me saying I'm always covered up, because I'm not always covered up. I try to look good for my Instagram videos,
Yeah, true. No, you're more of a show off.
Someone got to do it,
man. Jonas is like, he knows he's fucking ready to go, and he's just not showing anybody till stage time. I love it.
I had the whole gym though that day, dude. I'll be, I am guilty as well as at least taking a peek to see what I'm looking like. But that whole gym, dude, that day in that back room stopped and was just literally a crowd of like 30 people were just like, oh my God,
I think
that's exactly. That's what you get when you don't show like yourself a lot, right? But like I post myself all the time, so like when people see me, they're just like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Like no one cares. So your strategy is way better.
I think you shocked a lot of people because no one saw you coming, and so when you stepped out looking like this, were you very confident just because you knew what you were bringing? You weren't worrying about people telling you online that you're gonna do great and this kind of stuff. Was there like a lower pressure for you because you didn't have people telling you that you were going to do well? You just knew that you were ready.
You know what? I wish I could say that. I really do. I knew I was ready just based on my team. I have a couple really good clients I work out with daily. I got this physique guy that you guys wait till you see this freak. There's a few on my Instagram. This kid is a 22-year-old, just a freak. He's got the most massive quads. But anyways, we train a lot, and he's really dialed in with this, follows it just as much as anybody, but with a lot of classic physique stuff. But the biggest problem for me was this was my first pro show, so I had never lined up with any of these guys to see where I was at. So that was what kept going through my head. But as soon as I started sending some pictures, I sent some to Jose, I sent some to a couple of my other friends that were around here, the NPC, head chairman and judge for Utah, and they were all, man, you ready? I mean, Jose was the biggest helpful person because he's been in all of this. He's worked with Chris forever too. I mean, I sent him those 8-week out pictures and he laughed. He literally was like, dude, you could be ready by this next weekend and beat people on conditioning. So I can't even imagine what's going to happen, with you guys doing stuff. So as I went along, my confidence started building. And then, getting on stage with guys like that, like, Ian and Antoine, that helped me to see, okay, man, I'm not far off my
I
size.
think
and
this
everything
one
is
really put
pretty
you on the
close.
map to a lot of people, like this Vancouver show, because
Yeah, this is a big one for sure.
Ian and Antoine were like blatantly fighting for that top spot. But like at the same time, man, like you were just like a shake off of Antoine. Like, you know what I mean? Like you guys were extremely comparable on stage. So I think that was like a huge attribute to you. Like I know for myself, like obviously had my eye on you after Puerto Rico and stuff like that. But when I saw these comparisons at Vancouver and just seeing how well you stacked up to Antoine, especially like structurally, he got really good legs, but like your legs still looked really comparable to his, like all those things, man. It was pretty awesome to see, I gotta say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think because Ian and Antoine both have such a big following as well, so there's a lot of eyes on them for that Vancouver show. And then when you got up there in that top three, I think a lot of people were like, "Okay, this guy's here now." Did you feel that too?
Yeah, for sure. When they called me into the rounds with those two, and so then I started looking at pictures after the show and the posts. I could definitely see where I was at, because those two, I call them the Canadian beef is what I call them, because they're big,
Yeah,
big bastards.
Yeah.
I mean, Ian's overall glutes and just his thickness in his back and shoulders, and then Antoine's freaking quads and hanging hamstrings, just dense, detailed, cut out, carved out calves. You're looking at all that backstage, and you don't ever let that stuff mess with your head. But you're like, man, those guys that's bodybuilding. You know what I mean? You're looking at them, and that's what my head was doing. Even when I was talking to my boy Seth in the back, I said, dude, that right there, that is bodybuilding. That's how bodybuilding needs to be.
yeah,
So
totally, man.
it was
this is a great lineup right here. Like this top three is a really good Vancouver lineup, and you're not missing anything. So did you get a chance to talk to the judges at all to get feedback on what you would need to bring to get in that first, second place spot?
Yeah, it's pretty much been the same feedback from all the other judges. They want to see some more back thickness
Yeah,
and a little bit more caps on my shoulders. Other than that, every one of them said same conditioning and same overall fullness to your
yeah,
quads, glutes. Your abs are amazing. They liked everything else. They just said bring that back, and then they're looking at an Olympia qualification for next year is the feedback I've been getting.
yeah.
So
Yeah, you're right there, man. So then so going into the Chicago Pro, how did you feel going into that show? And were you able to make improvements from Vancouver to Chicago? Do you feel?
So we went up about 8 pounds from Orlando. They gave me a little feedback of being flat. As you guys know, with Aceto, we like to chase condition versus anything. So they told me I was a little flat in Orlando. So we said, okay, we'll bring in some condition, but we'll also be full. So I ended up competing at about 259 at Vancouver. Whereas in Orlando, I was around 250 mark.
Yeah.
251, and then we came in and it looked great. Like I was shocked. I could feel I was not as hard, but that
Not
definitely
as hard
that extra.
in Chicago.
No, this was Vancouver.
Not as hard in Vancouver.
Yes, I was not as hard in Vancouver as I was in Orlando and Puerto Rico. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
But I had so much more glycogen in my muscle that I was still hard and still, executed my cardio perfectly. We just ended up giving me some more food. And that muscle was full, definitely pushing up against the skin. So, I mean, the glycogen was in there. So it definitely gave me a good look, which people seem to like, which, kind of, Chris and I were kind of chuckling. They want full, and we'll give them some fullness too,
So
by Puerto Rico, by far my best look for the year. 100%.
I was going to ask you, yeah. So you thought Puerto Rico was your best of the three?
Yes,
four. Sorry, you did 4 shows, right?
Yeah, 4 shows in 5 weeks.
I liked your Chicago look a lot because you were fuller. But do you think that if you looked the way you did in Chicago, if you looked the way you did in Puerto Rico in Chicago, do you think you would have placed better?
Yeah, I think I would have taken second. I really do.
Because you were just a little bit more crispy.
Crispy. And I was honestly, you guys in Puerto Rico, I was super full too. If you look
It
back at some of
honestly,
those,
yeah, from that video, it looked like you were on like 99 to 100%.
yeah, I mean that video of my chest there, and then that one it was. I mean, I had just so much.
You know what it
You
is
know,
for me, man? It's when I like, because you don't have the smallest waist, but when it's this hard looking, it looks very impressive. It looks really just like nails, hard.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So how much, sorry, one more time. How much did you weigh here compared to Chicago?
Chicago, I went up about 4.5, 4 or 5 pounds.
Yeah.
So this was right around the 250s, 249. And then in Chicago, we were around the 254, 253.
It's such a
So
mind fuck, don't you think? Because Antoine was 275 at the Olympia 2020. And this year he shows up 267, I believe he was. So significantly lighter and just that much better. So it's crazy how even like 4 or 5 pounds can make a huge difference in the way you present yourself on stage.
Yeah,
it's huge. It's totally huge. I agree with you.
Yeah, and it all depends on who you're standing next to, right? Because yeah, man, that's a super impressive physique. Do you now, one more question? I know obviously it's just speculation, but do you think you could have pushed Antoine out of the top two, maybe, if you showed up like this in Vancouver?
Whew, that's
Just for
close. I
fun.
think
Just for fun.
personally, I'm a little frustrated with. I got to be honest. That little guy ended up beating me. I did not see that at all. Just going to be honest with you guys. That I don't think should have happened. No way, no how.
You're referring to Tonio?
No, the guy that was from Toronto, speaking French.
Oh.
Little teeny guy. What the heck was his name? He couldn't even speak English. Kept turning the wrong way in the lineups.
All right. Yeah, who was that?
Was that the 212 guy?
I think his name was Hossein.
Hossein. Yeah, you're right.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
that
won
was.
a 212 show, right?
Yeah, he won the 212 in Toronto, and then came over and somehow, took my third place shot, and yeah. Anyways, that was super frustrating me. Nothing against the guy, he had a great look, but just not overall, not enough detail going on for me.
Yeah.
Had some good thickness in his legs, but not enough separation. That's what I would have looked like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But it's Ian, dude, Ian and Anton, those guys are hard to beat. Let's just say I'm back there looking at them both, and they both have very, very different bodies, but both are very, very good.
Yeah.
I think Anton, I think my upper body is definitely something that's a stronger suit for me, especially in my arm size, my chest thickness. But that dude's legs just are an insane level, So it's kind of like apples and oranges. What do you pick? Okay, maybe this guy's got him on some upper body stuff, but then Anton's got him on legs. Big hanging hamstring, big thick calves. I mean, deep cuts, into his IT bands, and great quads. And here's the other thing, in my opinion, Anton and myself are the best. We're the best posers in Vancouver. As our routines were very thorough. I loved his routine. It was very entertaining. He was the only one that I watched the whole thing through because it was that good, in my opinion. Very, very,
It was good.
He put in hours, dude. You could tell it was very on point. Every beat with the music, every position he was doing, I was like, oh, cool. And then that guy's just super impressive. He's got his body nailed down, his foods. You can just see every little part of what he's doing is working, and it's working well. Everyone always asks me this question. Tell me what you guys think about this. They always want to know about, my training, my food, PEDs, what I do is in my cardio, my home life, my sleep. It's not just, you know, one of those things they always seem to ask about. They ask about like one or two. It's
Yeah.
seriously to get to the level of Ian, Antoine, and I'm almost there. I don't want to say I'm there yet. I'm close. I can see the finish line, but that is a perfect combination of all of those things. They have found those combinations that work exactly for them. And without those, I mean, here's a perfect example. Take one of those things away, something goes wrong with one of those family life issues. They don't get to sleep more than 4 hours for a month at a time. Gym issues, you know, torn, you know, patella tendon, something weird happens. They're not going to look like that. They're going to look close, but not at the level that they were just at. I mean, even for Anton to come in after the bicep tears and things like that, have him look the way he does, I would never have known he even tore his biceps. Would you guys?
Yeah,
No,
no,
I'm back into a
only
fucking
because I
century,
train
man.
with him. That's the only reason why I know is because I train with him and I seen him tear them the first bicep and he came back. Then he did the Olympia. Then he tore the second bicep after the Olympia and came back and got back to the Olympia. But I seen this guy starting training, you know, last year, posing in the posing studio, working on that posing routine, and just every morning posing there. This guy's, you know, on his leg days, he'll do in full leg day. Then this guy's throwing on chains and lunging around the gym for like 20 minutes. Like you're just out of control. It's that, like you were saying, it's like when you have everything maximized, that's the only way you can present yourself like that. Because if there's any of those things off, like you said, there's just no way you're going to look like that. It's got to be everything.
It's just like the evolution of a bodybuilder, right?
Yeah.
Like you, as you go through this and like you start understanding the levels of it, you start to understand more and more how you need to really just, your life really needs to revolve around it, right?
Yeah.
Like everything matters. Like you were just saying, like every variable needs to be controlled. Like the more control you have over the time you eat, like the time you sleep, like all of these things pinpoint it so that, you know, keeping your work life stress down, like everything matters when you're at this level because everybody is so good. You know what I mean? Like you take you, Antoine, and Ian and put them up on a stage and bring a few normal people off the street and be like, who's better? Like they're not going to have a clue, right? Like you need to be in this sport to even be able to see the differences in you guys and how to give someone. So that's how close the margins are. Like, you know what I mean? So I like I said, I just think this is something that if you really love this sport and you want to get as far as as a lot of people say they do, like you're going to be tested because you're going to have to dedicate your life to it. Like, you know, 100%. That's just how it is.
Was this Jonas, was this the hardest prep for you to do? Like physically and mentally to get to that level of conditioning that you needed?
Believe it or not, no. It was not, because I almost knew what to expect. I thought it would be, you know. But nationals was, I did not ever prep like that. I had never given I mean, literally I blood, sweat, and tears to get that shape and in that condition. So I almost knew what was expected of me. I don't want you thinking like, oh, you know, I mean, that wasn't hard. You guys, I know you know this because your comp background and who you guys are around, you know, on the daily, who your coaches are. But I knew what Chris was expecting of me. We had many FaceTime conversations of what was expected of me, and we had no intention of doing anything but obviously winning. But we were. I'm a realist, okay? So our original goal was third, you know, a third or higher at the Puerto Rico. And then all the rest of the shows, the last thing I wanted was anything out of the top five. So as long as I broke the top five in all of my shows as a rookie, I told Chris that, hey man, I'm a happy man. I understand there is a certain order to things, and these guys have been working. I mean, let's say Hassan, for example. I mean, he did that show, I want to say in 2017, the Puerto Rico Pro, and he got like 9th place, you know. So it ended up, you know, for him to come back and finally win it in 2022, that's been a long time coming. A lot of time in front of the judges, a lot of changes he's been slowly making, and he's been doing what he's been asked too. I mean, he was 236 at that show. He used to compete in the 260s, you guys, you know, so that
unbelievable. Yeah.
Imagine that mind fuck he went through where he's he's thinking, damn, am I going to even be one of the big guys anymore?
Yeah. But that's cool because it shows how like we're all just kind of on our own time. You know what I mean? Like it's just about sticking to it, like doing what we know we have to do every day, and like you're eventually going to get your look, like if you put the work in. But I think it's important to know too what you just said about kind of like paying your dues. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can be really good, but it's still important to be realistic and know that when you're making your pro debut or doing your first season, like it's your first time getting in front of a lot of these judges. A lot of these judges are kind of programmed already about who to look for, like when they know who's in the show. Of course, they're going to want to see the guys they've already seen before. They're going to want to look at them, see the improvements they've made. So I feel like it kind of even gives you more credit, right? Like in like the splash that you made, like you obviously made a really big impact, and it still was your first season. So, I mean, I'm sure you feel really good, you know, going into this off season and then going into your next contest season, knowing that like they know who you are now, obviously, right? So they're going to be looking for you right away next year. So I guess moving into your off season now, like yeah, what's next for you? You just, you know, going to work on the delts and back. Like what's the plan?
Yeah, delts and back, bring some more hang to my hamstring, and I think I'm going to be there. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to let up on anything with my my overall training on other body parts. Some people feel like they can do that and get away with it, I guess, and then put more effort into the other body parts. That's a mistake. You don't want to let go of your strengths that probably got you to a place in the in the whole scheme of things, and then now you're putting more energy into other body parts. You got to train with the same intensity on all of those, and then just increase intensity on the stuff that's lacking. Kind of hurt me, guys. I had herniated really badly, some discs in my lower back, doing some heavy squats, and that hindered me from being able to train my back for a couple months going into this.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I think that was part of it. Don't want to give that full, the full thing to it. It's definitely something that needs to come up, but I just got to be very cognizant of how I train, how my pulling motions are, not get so into, throwing weight around as much as it is pulling at several angles, really slow and methodical. That's where I really feel like the change comes.
Yeah.
I try to get all my clients on the same page with that. I get these videos, and I'm sure you guys too, from clients. It makes me laugh. They show me they're deadlifting, 670, and they're doing it for 2 reps. And I'm like, that's awesome. I don't care. That's what I'll text them back. I don't care about this. This is not bodybuilding. I'm happy to have you do it, a couple times. Just be careful you don't hurt yourself. You'll be regretting it when you can't train for a month plus. But I want to see those heavy as possible is what I preach, without messing with any of the biomechanics. I want perfect form. Okay.
Yeah.
And then my reps are up. I don't mess around with anything less than 15. If I'm doing less than 15, it's just because I'm super gassed, super exhausted, or I'm giving myself a heavy training day, which is very rare, a couple times a month. And I'll throw on like 450 and I'll maybe bench it for 8 times. But other than that, I don't believe in it. I tried to train that way, you guys, and I know everyone's different. This is just what I've seen, what I've logged from client after client after client. What brings in the most change is that rep range being elevated. Chasing the pump. The pump is king. If you're not getting such an excruciating pump, you're missing something. You know what I mean? You should leave the gym feeling like you literally cannot move your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes. That's when you're having this muscle breakdown, and you're going to have true hypertrophy. Hypertrophy.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Totally agree. So do you always do so no matter what the body part, you're always doing 15 reps plus?
Yep. Legs are very different. Legs reps, my legs go up, my rep quantity quite a bit, especially if I'm doing something with mechanical advantage.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go over there and do, 15 leg presses. My reps are upwards, between 30 to 50 on most of my first 3 or 4 sets. And then my last 2 or 3 where I end up doing 6 or 7, I'll still be doing 1,800 pounds, but I'll be doing that for 30 reps, to 25 reps.
That's wild.
So,
okay. So
you
yeah,
gotta put out some training footage, bro.
Yeah.
I know I have some. I need to do better with it. I get a lot more stimulation. Once I started training like that and I felt it. Sean was another one that taught me a bunch of that. He'd load up that thing and he's not stopping at the 15, 16, 17 rep range. I mean, the first few times I went through stuff, we were hitting, I'm like, man, you really do 40 reps on this, He's like, oh yeah, dude. Very slow too. It's not like you're just throwing that weight up and down. I mean, it's the eccentric motion. Sometimes we would put on, say, 1,000 pounds, and we're counting 3 to 5 seconds on the way down, 3 to 5 seconds on the way up. So I really feel like that's the kind of tension that you need on your tissue to bring out that separated look.
So you're just trying to go for maximum time under tension with the heaviest weight possible, basically.
Yep. That's where the true growth comes from, in my opinion. I mean, I would love to be Ronnie, but I'm going to look at you guys right now and say there's no way I am. I just know with my genetic potential, I am not that guy. If I squatted 900 pounds, even multiple weeks in a row, let alone, months like he did, I mean, I would have so much pain in my hips and my knees for, the 8 reps that he would do, the 7, the 10, that I wouldn't be able to even train, the way that I need to be competitive at this level. So I feel like there's adjustments you got to make based on your genetic capabilities. And that's where I found this is a route to do so. If you're able to do that, the changes come. And I've definitely proven it with client after client, even this younger guy. I mean, we added like 3 inches around his legs that were already big in a matter of 6 months. No shit. And I'm talking PEDs, anything that anyone wants to talk shit about, minimal to sometimes nothing during that time. Just him, using his genetic variables and using some of these workouts that I've tried to become in tune with and really, log information about. But yeah, then the normal stuff, if you're doing squats, then the rep range is down. It's a little different. I usually don't go over 20 on stuff like that.
Wow.
So,
okay. So can you give us just a quick run through a leg day?
you guys are gonna probably a lot of people are gonna talk some shit, but this is the reality. Okay. Before I even start on anything with my legs, as far as heavy compound movements, I'm usually around 200 to 300 reps just on extensions, working my way up and having 3 different body positions to where I'm making sure I'm not just firing the bottom of my quads, the mid quad, or into the top of my quads, all based on where my hip and butt position are. So say, give or take, an average day, I'll be 300 reps on the extensions. And then, single leg, I'm really big into unilateral movements, making sure things develop evenly. You're always going to have one hip, one leg, one femur bone, something's longer, shorter than the other. So I'm really big in unilateral movements. So then I'll go from that. I'll go over to, hack squats, and I'll superset hack squats with front squats. So I go back and forth on those. Rep range on hack squats is anywhere from 20 to 40. And then the front squats is a little bit lower. First few sets will be around 20, 25. The last 2 will be around 15. I'll be front squatting 405 to 315 at the max load. And then the hack squat machines usually halfway to fully loaded up, depending where my strength and my food is. Obviously, as you go closer to a show, some days my strength's there, and other days, let's just be honest, man, it's not. I try my best, but I'm going to listen to my body. I'm not going to, just because I did it last week, do the same weight because my hips or whatever, my knees are telling me no. If I'm getting too much pain and I'm not getting enough stimulation into the red tissue, I just adjust weights. Like I said, I try to be as intuitive as possible. I know you guys hear that a lot, but I swear by that. I know that's true. If you listen to yourself, you can try to stay injury free. I'm not giving any credit to myself on all this, but I've made it this long, training this hard for 2 decades. I've never torn a muscle. So knock on wood for that. I know that's some helping hand of God in there, but I pray to never do that. But yeah, so anyways, the total.
Can we just clarify something? So are you talking about going from, you do hack squats and then go to barbell front squats?
Correct. Yes, I do.
Oh man. All right, go on.
And then I'll go into leg press, and then I superset leg press with single leg Bulgarian split squats, and then from single leg Bulgarian split squats to lunges. weighted lunges, sometimes upwards as heavy as just doing the bar with 45, and then sometimes as heavy as having a plate on each side. I usually don't go over 185. And then, yeah, I never miss anything but 20 reps on those lunges. So anyways, as you guys can see, my reps are significantly higher than most people would even do in 4 to 5 workouts, which I talk a little bit about on my Instagram. Some people talk shit on that. There's no way for you to recover. There's no way. Well, I beg to differ. You know,
how can anyone say that to you?
That's crazy.
You're a fucking monster, man.
Wow.
But that's the training style that I find works the best for me, and has brought the most change to my clients as well. It's not easy, but I'm usually in the gym. I'll be real with you. I wish I could say I was in there 1 hour. It's just not that way. It's an hour and 40 minutes, usually to 2 hours. So that's usually where I'm leaving, especially leg day. And then arms, you know, I keep the similar feature. You know, Justin Compton, you guys talked about this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
His same methodology was something that I had found out before he talked about it too, where he would do high reps, you know, with even his arms, and everyone would ask him, how do you get your arms? So I've just done that because it started feeling right. And then I started reading about it in, you know, true hypertrophy. There's a couple doctor podcasts that I've been watching for the last like 12 years. This guy talks about where is the adequate rep range for true hypertrophy, you know, and the hypertrophy. And he's constantly saying the same thing. You know, there's data that shows as low as 7, but there's just no way. He recommends, you know, a 12 to 30 rep range is what he recommended. I found my happy spots 15, you know, to 30 to 50, depending the size of the muscle. If it's a smaller muscle, usually I'll do a little bit less on the reps. So say arms, where I feel like you can take a lot more brutal beating on, you know, backs, glutes, hams, and quads for your rep range than you know, your little ass dinky biceps and triceps, right? Those are something you got to be cognizant of, you know, how's your tissue feeling, you know, your connective tissue. If that's causing you more pain than it is actually getting a pump, you know, something's going on. And that can be where it can save you, you know, instead of pulling with a normal single arm, you know, you're doing single arm supported, you know, curls, like an incline bench back, you're not doing 45s that day. You can still get the same pumps if you drop it down to a 25. You know, it's just the three things you got to chase are progressive. It's got to be either, you know, how many joint movements do you have? Is it a single joint movement? Is it a multiple joint movement? And how can I control those? So the biomechanics, chasing that pump, and then constantly progressing, right? Whether it's the weight, which I try to do both weight or reps. I'm always increasing one of those every single rep or set that I do. So that makes
really
sense to you guys?
Yeah. It seems like you're focusing on progressive overload, but like keeping that like proponent on, like keeping tension on the muscle, making sure you're getting a good pump. So yeah, I mean, honestly, it sounds a lot like what I do. Like I'm not working in rep ranges quite as high as you, but like 15 to 25 reps on something is pretty normal, especially on leg days. Like you talk about leg press, like I do, you know, 15 to 20 reps, usually pretty common. But I'm the exact same way as you. Like I don't, you know, progressive overload, I don't like live and die by it like a lot of guys do. Like, you know, because I think you can get caught up in that, like forcing weights up, and then your form changes. It's not the same exercise anymore. Like I'm like probably form and tempo over anything and everything. But yeah, like I'm still being mindful of trying to improve like week to week, the same as you. Yeah, totally.
I think you're right on the road, man. If that is truly what, you know, you're doing. I don't know. It happens, I think, to all of us as males. You know, you get with a gym partner that's naturally just stronger than you, right? So he trends up his weight more than what you should do for the best workout for you. So you're not constantly shuffling, you know, discs off and plates. But yeah, that honestly is perfect. You know, all the research I've ever done, what you're training it with is huge, huge for the success of the actual overall tissue growth. And that's really all I care about. You know, I don't care that I'm super strong. I really don't at this point. I'm going to get strong just from the tissue change, right? That's how I try to tell people. You'll get stronger just by getting a little bit more depth to your tissue. So don't worry about that part. But yeah, I totally agree. If you're hitting 25 reps on stuff, then you definitely know the pump I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah, man. But that's the difference between me and you. It's like I'll do 25 reps on a leg press and I just sit there and cry after, and you're like jumping into Bulgarian foot squats. So I gotta try that out on my next leg day, maybe. See what that's all about. Then I'll be able to relate a little bit better.
I do a little bit kind of the way that Jonas does it, where I'll superset movements like that, like a hack squat and a front squat. I do like doing that a lot, but I don't do 20 to 25 reps or 30 reps or 50 reps. I'm the 10 to 12 kind of guy. I like 10 to 12 range for the most part. But man, if you're saying like that's the way to go with the bigger body parts, to go up in the rep range and go a little bit higher to really maximize that time under tension, maximize that pump, I'm all about it. I'm definitely going to give it a try, because I've been doing the same kind of rep range for a long time. So I feel like that'll definitely ignite some new growth. And it'll be a fun challenge. And I also like the fact that you've been doing this for a long time. How long have you been training now, Jonas?
I have been training pro bodybuilder wise per se, hypertrophy, since I was about 20. So coming up on 2 decades.
And no injuries, like no major injuries, you said, like besides the discs, but you haven't torn anything. So I think that's kind of like what my goal is with my training too, because I want to be able to keep training and improving my body. But I realize like there's a certain point where if I'm putting on, X amount of plates on a hack squat, there's going to be a law of diminishing returns where I can just keep stacking on those plates to make the set more challenging. But I would rather almost stick with that weight and then make it more challenging by following it up with another exercise like a front squat, and challenge those quads in different ways, where I feel safer, especially if you don't have a training partner, right?
Exactly. And I train alone, you guys. I would say,
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Yeah,
at least 50%. A little bit less since I've got a couple of these really good clients with me. But unfortunately, sometimes your gym partner can hinder you or really help you, right? Yeah. So if they're a newer person, it wasn't always beneficial to me, but these few guys that I've been training with lately are very helpful. I mean, they're helping me load all these plates. They know exactly what we're doing. They understand our methodology, and they get right into it. The biggest thing I think that really helped me was chasing those rep ranges with movements. Really helped versus stacking the plates on, which I still do. I don't ever want to get that confused. Like I said, I'm still 1,000, 1,500, 1,800 pounds on a lot of movements. But if you ever notice when you go to do some of those, how much pump did you get? Almost I want you to kind of document in your head or write it down. How much pump did you have when you did it that way versus maybe bumping the rep range up? Instead of putting on 4 plates, put on 1 plate, then bump the rep range up 12 more reps, and tell me which one gave you the more wicked pump to where you were just excruciatingly in pain, but not from connective tissue. I'm talking strictly red tissue pain. Yeah. Then tell me what you think. And obviously I want to keep in touch with you guys after this, but that's my methodology on that. I'm a firm believer in that. Another one who helped me with that, because I was like anybody. I was just training, heavy. Sean. Okay, Sean was older than me. I'd send him videos, and I always had strong quads. I would load up 7 plates, rep out squats for 7, 8, 9, 10 reps on each side, and pretty beautifully. Form was decent, but Sean would ask me, I'd send him these videos. He says, "So how are your quads feeling?" And my answer, unfortunately, almost every time was, I didn't get much of a pump. I had a slight pump, but I have a lot of knee and hip pain. And he's like, "Okay, that's what I want you to be attentive to." He's like, "We're not in this sport for the next 5 years." He's like, "We're trying to be in this sport for, training wise up to the next 15 years, longevity, my friend." He always used to text me that longevity. He would just say that and then ... after certain movements I would send him. So something about that I didn't get at the beginning, but as I got older, I 100% understood what he was talking about. If you're having such horrible pain in your hips and knees that your workouts are shit, let's take away, okay, you had one good workout on quads and hams and glutes, but your next 3 were complete garbage because you were so jacked up from that, amount of weight you tried to put on, that you couldn't even perform the exercises adequately, and your pump was garbage again. So now your 4 exercises of complete, worthlessness without getting the stuff I'm talking about, the pump and the biomechanics of the workout right, because you're in such pain. Um, that's where it was a no-brainer to me. And that's when I made the transition and still just kept improving on the overall structure of the physique. But
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. I think that's what more people should listen to and learn, is that, you don't really post a lot of training videos. You're not posting this stuff to get likes and views. You're just doing it because you're trying to build muscle and do your thing and win shows. Obviously, that's your goal. You're doing, you're on your way there. And I think a lot of people just get caught up with the weight. Simply, they're just like letting the ego get ahead of themselves. And what you're saying is you're basically just saying you're leaving that ego at the door and you're going strictly based off your pump. And if you're not maximizing the pump every workout, then that's like how you're gauging a successful workout or not for any other method. Like, oh, I got to lift more weight this time than last time. I think that if more people thought the way that you thought, they would make better progress in the gym, because
yes,
it doesn't matter how strong we are when we get on stage. It only matters how we look.
right, 100%. I think pump and muscle soreness,
Yeah,
you're paying
I like
attention to
muscle
your red.
soreness. Yeah.
Yeah, if your red tissue sore, you're on the right road.
Yeah, I think a lot of people
And
talk about that as being not a good indicator, but I think that if you're getting a good soreness, a good feeling where you can just feel it. It's like I had a good workout and I was successful, because it's gonna correlate probably with that amount of pump too. If it's your chest is crazy pumped, feels like it's gonna rip out of your skin, then you're probably gonna be sore the next day. Same thing for quads, hammies, biceps, all that stuff. If it's a subpar kind of pump, it's probably going to be like you're a little bit sore, maybe kind of sore, like you said, more in the tendinous areas. But yeah, definitely. You got to know like what those signs are for you if you had a successful workout. Because I used to just shrug it off if I had knee pain after a workout. I'd be like, oh, like I pushed it really hard, so my knees are a little sore today, but they'll be fine by the next workout. And that's all I was worried about, is that they'd be okay by the next workout, but not realizing that I'm compounding that injury by actually just going in there and beating them up again each time. And
yep,
I learned the same as you, as I learned that I have to train more for that hypertrophy and less for the actual strength component.
yep. Yeah, it's a hard transition too, because we're almost, as men, we're like programmed to start out just blasting weight. You know what I mean? At the beginning, we want to show whoever how strong are we. I mean, even football. If you guys played football or baseball, they we always have what's your 2 rep, 1 rep, 4 rep maxes. You know what I mean? Which have no meaning to us at all as far as bodybuilding.
Yeah.
But once you make that flip, then yeah, I really think people would change a lot quicker than most people do. They get caught up in that. I sure as hell know I did for a few years. I bet I would have been completely different, the 3 or 4 years earlier than I was, just based on training style alone. I think I had the food down, the peds, everything was pretty dialed, but just I did not quite have that figured out. I was not getting those skin bursting pumps. I mean, Phil Heath, you guys talked about this for years. His pump, and everyone always, they discredit it so quickly, like just minimal. And the dude was right. He was right for a long time. He's talking about making sure that connection is there. All the stuff that we talk about repetitively, the mind muscle, none of that's going to happen if you're not getting, the pump. All those things have to click, and then that pump's right there. And sure as hell, you nailed it. If my pumps, and I have those days where for some reason what I'm doing, and maybe I was 2 hours late on a meal, my H2O's low, my electrolytes are off because I was working in the yard. I put in a whole, I can specifically remember a summer ago, I put in my whole backyard, did a bunch of trenching, my electrolytes were off. I could not get a pump in the damn gym to save my life. For a couple of days, it took me about a week to get this done. And I started, looking back, and like, sure as hell, I was underhydrated, and over sweating, which was getting rid of my electrolytes, and it just wasn't happening. So, and I didn't get sore, the whole time in the gym, that whole week. I'm like, how come I am not sore at all? Something is wrong, Well, sure as hell, I linked those to the pump. And then obviously, the soreness, it was maybe there for 12 hours, 24 hours. I could feel I did something. I went to sleep. The next morning, it was like I had nothing on my soreness. So that was a good link too. That was a very good concept. I should have covered a little more, but definitely linked that one up.
I think you know what the problem is. I think, man, honestly, is because back in the day before there was all these like kind of like science bodybuilding nerds on social media and stuff like that. It would all the bodybuilders focus on the pump, and they trained for the pump because like Arnold was the guy that was it's all about the pump, right? And most of the bodybuilders followed what Arnold said. Then when these nerds came into play and they had all this science and they start looking at the muscle going, well, if you just pump the muscle, now you're going to get, sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. We want to get the myofibrillar hypertrophy because it's going to give you a harder look on stage and blah, blah, blah. And if you train for the pump, you're going to have a softer, more bubbly, then they started saying it's insulin and it's pump workouts, and it's all this bullshit, right? It's like you need to train for the pump. You need to train as heavy as you need to get the maximum pump. It's all relative. But if you're getting caught up at the weight, I don't think you're going to get as far in bodybuilding because you're either going to hurt yourself and then you're not going to be, or you're just going to limit yourself because you're focused on the wrong things.
Right. Yep. Totally agree. Yeah. It's almost like they try to get, I don't know, they're justifying their degree or whatever with exercise, physiology and all that stuff, body mechanics by, biochemistry. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff.
It's also just like that mindset of, only having to think about moving away from point A to point B is so simplistic. You know what I mean? Like ignorance is bliss, right? So if they're just like, well, all they got to do is get a little stronger every week and move this from point A to point B. But real bodybuilding is thinking about everything that's going on in between point A and point B in your reps, right? Like keeping tension on the muscle, working within a full range of motion, pushing yourself to failure. Like you need to be really in touch mentally. There's a lot of deep thinking that goes into this. And obviously, like just by listening to you talk for the last hour, you can tell how deeply you've thought about this and your body and how you feel in the gym and paying attention to your hydration that day, your electrolytes that day. Like people don't want to even fathom like those things, right? And how much it really takes and how much thought it really takes to dial these things in for you. But I think the reality, and just after having this conversation, we can all come to the conclusion that unless you're willing to take the time to identify these things within yourself, you're never going to reach your potential, right?
Totally. Yeah, everybody wants a quick fix, man. Everybody says, well, this is the best supplement to get the mind muscle connection. It's like, just go in there and fucking think about what you're doing and you'll improve yourself. But everybody's distracted by other things, so they wonder why they can't get into their focus, into their vibe, into their flow when you're training. And that's what it all comes down to. You got to get into that.
They're thinking about that damn paper they got. Let's do, the quarterly spreadsheet they got to update for, your kid stuff. It sounds selfish, but you guys are completely right. If you're not pulling out of that life window for your bodybuilding goals for 2 hours, it's never going to happen. You're not going to have the connection with the tissue that you need to make these true changes. So that's couldn't have said it any better. I totally agree with that.
So I don't want to take you too much of your time, Jonas. I appreciate you being on so long, but I do want to ask you, what's your next plan for the next competitive year? Do you have shows picked out already, or what do you have planned so far?
Yeah, we do. I'm planning to make some shows in front of some judges that really like my overall physique. Didn't really strategize much with that besides tiers. I just was trying to aim for a beginner tier. I have some talks going on with my work. I'm trying to be done working my occupational health and safety job possibly by the end of the year, and I'm going strictly focus on this and hopefully be on the Olympia stage for the next 5 years would be the ultimate goal. More energy into just strictly bodybuilding and helping people. My business is thriving. It's done a lot better since more people are knowing who I am. So thank you for having me on this podcast, because I'm just this bald guy with a great mustache that's working out in Utah. Nobody knows who.
That knows a lot of shit.
you know a lot of shit, and you're proving yourself. Not only that, but I think it's amazing that we skimmed over it a little bit, but you work a full-time job as an engineer. You have a business as well as a coach. You're a full-time bodybuilder as well, and 2 kids, 2 daughters. That's amazing, man.
That is amazing. That's amazing.
That is really amazing. So your motivation to us, because we want to. Morgan and I want to be where you are, getting on stage, making those top 3s happen. So we're really excited to see you do that because it gives us the motivation to want to do that too.
If I can do it, I promise you guys, it took me longer than most people. So just don't ever let time dictate what you're feeling about your future, would be my only advice to everyone listening, and you guys as well. It'll happen when it's supposed to happen. You just have to make sure you execute the work as if you're going to be in those top 3 every day. If you do that, it'll happen. I promise you. There's nothing special about me that you two are not capable of 110%. To answer the last question, it looks like I want to do the New York Pro and the Indy Pro to start my season.
Wow.
So that's where I'm gonna go. I want to get invited to the Arnold. I think I could with what I did with my rookie season. So always been a dream of mine to compete at the Arnold, but I'm gonna talk to Aceto before I make that decision. But for sure, we're looking at those 2 early shows in the year, and then do what I got to do to make sure I get qualified for next year. After that, I got the trip to Greece planned. A little bit nervous about, but my sister-in-law is getting married, and she has a very great relationship with my wife, and they're awesome people. I just want to make sure that they feel supported, and we make it out there, and hopefully they have some decent gyms I can train at. But other than that, that's the only obstacle that I got to try to juggle, and then the rest is just getting in there and doing the work for next year.
Super exciting, man. Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on and letting us pick your brain, sharing the wisdom, and the uplifting kind words as well.
Yeah, you bet, you guys. I'm happy with what you guys are doing, supporting bodybuilding too. Where are you guys at right now too? Remind me, are you guys in Vancouver?
So I'm in Ontario, and Morgan's out east.
Out east,
Okay.
I'm in Newfoundland. We have a name, bro. We're not fucking just out east. Have some respect, man. I'm in a place called Newfoundland. It's this big ass island off the east coast of Canada. Okay. I'm like the only person that lifts weights out here, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
Awesome. I who I became. I really like him. I get along well. His girlfriend and my wife sat by each other, but Anton, we get along great. We're trying to plan something, once he's down watching the Tampa Pro. We were just messaging back and forth a bit. He's trying to get me to come down to watch with him and BS and do some training. But since that didn't work out, I told him, hey, I want to come up to his gym. I believe he owns West Coast. What's it called?
Oh, West Coast Iron. Yeah. Yeah. So that's in Vancouver. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna plan some stuff, and hopefully we can get on the horn with you two, and we're gonna go up there for some training sessions. I'm gonna stay up there for about 4 or 5 days, and pretty much we'll just call it Hell Week, and we're gonna go through some stuff and really get into the movements of a couple of the biggest guys, moving some weight and being methodical about it, showing some of the ins and outs.
Are you talking about Antoine Valand?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're talking about going to Pure Muscle and Fitness then? That's in Burlington, right?
If you're coming to Pure Muscle and Fitness, then you're coming to where I'm at.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure. He just says he was a part owner of a gym, and he's got a great gym that he wants to work out at.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, he's not part owner of West Coast.
No, but
Okay.
he is part of Pure Muscle, which is in Burlington, which is where I live, which is on close to me. So hey, if you're gonna be down here,
Toronto, right?
yeah, yep, close to Toronto, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the Canadian area as far as being very, very, very well versed. I know Toronto's way over on one side, and then Vancouver's up closer to Seattle.
Exactly.
But anyways,
yeah. We're very spread out.
But if that happens, I will definitely make the trip out too. I travel after the train all the time, so I think it'd be great if all of us were out there at one time, man. That'd be cool. Eh?
Yeah, we're just feeling each other out, and so far, man, we have a really good mesh going on. The guy he's really. I'm so happy to see him back and just what he's able to accomplish with what he's been through. His head's just, I can feel it. It's in the right spot. I think he's going to do some big things. And so we're gonna get up together and one, I want to learn from him too, and two, I want to help push him. So once we get that set up, I'll be in touch with you guys, and once he's back in town, he's still down in the US are here with me for a little bit, and then I'll reach out to you guys and we'll set up some times and let you guys know. All right.
Totally. Yeah, man. It'll be super exciting for you to
Definitely,
come
man.
visit the best gym in Canada here at Pure Muscle and Fitness. So yeah,
Pure
we'll make it
Muscle
happen.
Fitness.
Yeah, keep us posted.
All right, man.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you very much, bro.
Thanks so much, Jonas. Have a great day, man.
Thank you guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. You guys too.
Bye-bye.
See you, bud.